Hi, you guys. So, following up from Friday in our displacement time graphs, I'm going to go through an example with you guys and we'll finish up that example too. So, some things to remember. The x-axis is going to measure time, and in this case, our time is going to be measured in minutes. Remember, there's lots of ways to measure time, so that might change. Our y-axis is going to measure displacement. Remember, displacement is a distance from our start, and in this case, it's in blocks. A couple other things that we need to remember. 0 on the y-axis, so a displacement of 0. So all the way across the bottom here, all the way across, this is our home or our start. So if anywhere in our scenario we go back to where we started, that means we're going back to 0 on our graph. Couple of other things, increasing and decreasing slope means we're moving. So if there's a section of the graph where we have a positive slope, that tells us we are moving away from where we started. Maybe then we turn around and we come back. A negative slope also means that we are moving. The positive and negative tell us if we're walking towards or away from where we started. The third possibility for slope is a flat slope or 0, and that tells us we're stopped. So that would be a segment where our displacement doesn't change, but our time does. So there we're stopped at a displacement of 2 blocks. And then the last thing, the steeper the slope, the faster we're moving. So maybe in the first scenario here on this line, we were running. If we were walking, we'd have a flatter slope. So our scenario 2 here is that maybe we are walking that distance. It's going to take us longer time to go to that distance. Okay, keeping those things in mind, let's go over a scenario for graph number 2. So we are going to write a story. So the first thing I want to do is check my units. So my displacement is in meters, and my time is in seconds. So this is a small movement that's happening here. Meters is not very far. So I'm going to look at my first segment. So my first segment is from 0 to 3 seconds, and my displacement is 0 to 2 meters. So my first segment, I went 2 meters in 3 seconds. Now notice that my slope is pretty flat, so I went slowly. So I'm going to say I slowly walked 2 meters in 3 seconds. Next, this is my second part. I'm still walking, but I can see that my slope is greater, which means that I'm walking quicker. So next, I'm going from 3 to 5 seconds on my graph. So that's a time change of 2 seconds. And I'm going from 2 to 8 on my graph. So from 2 to 8, that is 6 meters. And I'm going much faster. So I'm going to say, then I sprinted 6 meters in 2 seconds. My third segment here, I see that it's a flat slope. And I remember that means I stopped. I just sprinted. I need a break. So I took a break from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. So that's another 2-second segment. And my distance stayed the same. So I started at 8 meters and I ended at 8 meters. So after my sprint, I rested for 2 seconds. Then my last segment, I'm going back because I know I have a negative slope. So I'm moving and I'm moving back towards my home. And I'm going from 7 seconds to about 9.5 seconds. So that's 2.5. And I started up here at 8 meters and I'm going back home. So I'm going to say finally it took me 2.5 seconds to go back to where I started. Okay, that's our scenario.